We're here at Cementa Festival HQ to talk more about the good, the bad and the ugly of putting on an arts festival in a small country town. Joining me at an exhibition of local artists in the old Kandos Community Hall are Cementa co-founder Alex Wisser, writer and artist Laura Fisher, and local chef Alice Wood. So we're here at the 4th instalment of Cementa in Kandos. Alex, how did this festival start up?
Basically, the idea for the festival came up in 2012. Myself and my partner Georgina Pollard were on residency in Kandos. There is still an artist residency called Kandos Projects. It's run by Anne Finnegan, and Georgie and I had been invited up, and Anne happened to be there at the same time, and it was after dinner, we were drinking wine, and we were talking about the town. The cement works had just closed, and so that news had really been a shock to the town, and it was in the air, and we were talking about what it might mean, economically and socially to the town. In the middle of this very serious conversation, somebody came up with the idea and said, yeah, but wouldn't that cement works be an amazing place to have a festival? And the idea was sort of born from there. So it actually came out of the fact that the cement works had closed.
Now, Alice, you live here. Yeah. What's your take on this?
I think it's fantastic. It's good for the town and it brings people in and it brings money in and something different.
Yeah.
But there's definitely still a lot of people who aren't so keen. You hear it called Cementa.
That's great.
The other night I was in the street and somebody said, oh, you'll be busy this weekend, all the flowers are in town, sort of thing. And then, so
I think definitely Alice has kind of nailed it. Especially at the beginning, it was a big shock to a lot of people in town, and there was a lot of resistance. And in fact, for me, that was part of my own sort of the first encounter of this sort of reception. And I thought, you know what, these are healthy responses. This is honesty. This is people being honest with me, and I have no problem with that at all. And I'm okay to be called an art wanker. Like, that's okay for me. Like, I am an art wanker, so why not? Like, there's never gonna be a point where every single person in the town loves the festival and agrees with it. It's always gonna be something we have to work at. Just trying to show respect, trying to demonstrate that we are good citizens of this community.
I want to come back to this, but Laura, the organisation that you're a part of is kind of an extension of this idea and works within the town. Can you tell us a bit about that?
Yeah, so the organisation is the Kandos School of Cultural Adaptation, and there's about 15 artists involved with that. And we grew out of Cementa with a particular work that was in Cementa 2013, which projected the future of Kandos post kind of decline of its industries to being a place of sustainable industries and progressive change. And one of the elements in this artwork was a school of cultural adaptation, and a few of us got together and thought, well, let's try and realise some of these ideas. We're all quite interested in the rural-urban divide and sort of this question of adaptation and how different communities with different experiences can actually cooperate to bring about change.
The latest project that you guys have done has a great name.
Yeah, a very long name. An artist, a farmer and a scientist walk into a bar, and that has 9 artists involved in 8 distinct projects, each of which is a collaboration about something to do with land and the future of land. So we've been looking at carbon sequestration, we've been looking at solar energy, we've had another one which is about Aboriginal agriculture and looking at how Aboriginal methods of caring for the land sort of need to be revived. And so that's unfolded over 2 years, and our goal there really was to give people who wouldn't normally spend time with each other time to just work through a problem, having residencies where scientists and farmers and artists learn about an issue and see it from many angles.
Alice, do you have you're on the ground here, do you have a sense of, say, how projects like this are being received?
I think most people in the town would probably think it was kind of nonsensy sort of stuff. And when I was out yesterday, somebody was asking me about that piece that's down near the railway green, so I read them out the the booklet to it, and they just looked at me like that. But I think people don't really understand or are nervous because they think they won't understand what it's all about. There's different language and people just are doing it really tough out here with drought and the mine not coming through. That was a big blow for a lot of people. And the idea that somebody from out of town or somebody who's doing something that you don't understand or you don't personally put any value in it, and also because it's the contemporary art, it's all really weird and people look at it and think they've got that much money for, I don't know,
a pile of suitcases
or a hole in the ground or something like that. It goes against what people think is right, really.
How, as a festival organisers, have you guys sort of approached the gulf between, the art ring-ins, for want of a better term, and the local community here?
You have to work at that relations constantly. The metaphor that we came up with, the vinaigrette, what did you call it?
Temporary emulsion.
An emulsion. It's like an emulsion. It's that you actually have to keep stirring it to keep the elements mixed together. And as soon as you relax and stop it, they separate again. And they will. Is it? These are two cultures that are they're very different from each other, and if they don't have any contact with one another, then they will separate. Most people view the art world as something that they're isolated from, and they have no contact, they have no understanding. And that is one of the things about the festival, and it's in our attempt to engage with our community. We actively seek and attempt to generate projects that will engage the community. We'll pull the community from their comfort zone into participating in things that maybe they never would have thought of doing before. This festival, in fact, we've got a performance at our opening night by the local theatre group who we went to, and we asked them to write a play about us, because we make art about them all the time, and so they're going to come back at us and give us a bit of a cultural demonstration.
What Cementa does so well is live with the awkwardness of different social groups coming together, but just kind of coping with that discomfort rather than running away from it. I think that's actually what's so significant for the artists who come out to a town like this, is there's nowhere to hide. Like you're not in your comfortable sort of echo chamber of ideas and aesthetic concepts that are really familiar to your community. You're suddenly really vulnerable to the fact that someone might think you've created something that makes no sense, and that's really healthy for an artist to have to do.
I think contemporary art is isolating to, or confusing to, a lot of people. I think in the city perhaps people just go along with it more because there's that, well, I'm the idiot if I don't get what it is, where at least, to have feedback that, what the hell is this, is kind of refreshing, I suppose.
I think as more people that people who live in town, more people in their circle appreciate it and like it, it's easier for them to look at it in a better way. See, at the beginning, when everybody was kind of like, what's going on here, there was a lot more kind of angst about it. But then, like you saw on Facebook the other day, people were a bit upset that they couldn't use the pool for a couple of days, and it's hot and that kind of stuff. They were pretty outraged, but then it kind of simmered down really quickly.
But that seems to me actually about the one-on-one interactions that happen from festival to festival, right? It's like people go into the op shop and have a chat, all the artists go and shop at the op shop, and then gradually people just get to know each other. Kandos is such an interesting place because all the communities around here are reliant on mining. And so for artists and other people worried about environmental questions and saying, let's close those coal mines, you come to a place like this and you just understand what the stakes are for these communities. It's just so thought-provoking and confronting, actually, to say, well, we're so insulated in the city from what the real implications of all the changes we might be advocating for. What does it actually look like and feel like for people who are much more exposed to change and vulnerable to that change?
In terms of the festival moving forward and evolving, how would you all like to see it evolve?
I'm always kind of interested in how it affects the community, less so than how it affects what the artists are thinking about and stuff like that. But I think it's really important with the high school and the schools to have connections. I think it's the kids would miss out a lot of stuff that you see in the city out here, and just different ways of thinking and being able to talk to people about different stuff that they wouldn't talk about necessarily. So I like those sorts of connections, Yeah,
I mean, actually, because the kids have been really interesting. First festival, everybody pointed out to me who the real troubled kids were, and those were the kids that absolutely loved the festival. And I've seen that festival after festival. There was even a festival where some of the young kids started charging people for tours of the artworks.
That's what I remember. Yeah.
Surprising.
It was really gorgeous. Those are the kids in the small country town with nothing to do. And you know, it's one of the things I'd love to be able to do is get the youth more involved in here and working out how to do that without turning it into some sort of, you know, pedagogical or educational experience where it's actually, no, it's actually, yeah, we're playing. And I think that's what the kids understand is that, well, the artists are playing. And oftentimes those meetings are just about the pleasure you take in it. It's not about, you know, some sort of deep, you know, conceptual kind of structure. It's actually just about the fact that, well, this gives me pleasure and that's why I'm doing it.
Thank you all so much. This has been a great chat. And let's go for a swim at the pool.
Sounds good.
Cheers.